Definitely on time to this stream, like usual. Which I'm sorry, I have really bad time management, guys. Okay, so let me just make sure everything's working. Today we're doing, I think, what did I name this? Chapter 12 and 13? Or am I a liar? Oh, we're about to find out where I'm up to, huh? So we're annotating the Hunger Games today. I even bought these. So I thought maybe at some point I'd be able to um write down some themes of the Hunger Games and start doing colored flags for them. Just tabbing them, you know? I might have to do that at a different time though. Like during a different stream series. So yeah, oh yeah, we're doing 12 and 13. I had to go and check the title of my video first. Okay. So I'm going to be reading out the Hunger Games and we're just going to be highlighting, annotating, all of that. I'm just cleaning my glasses so I can see the book from far away because as usual I am off to the side of the camera, so I'm slightly far away compared to the book and I'm blind. So I need to wear glasses. I don't actually need them for like short distance, I need them for long distance. But when I'm reading from far away like I am now, I definitely need my glasses. Okay. So we're starting off with chapter 12 today. I have some tabs for a video I was making as well. They were for quotes and things. Okay. Chapter 13. Just a bit too far yet. Right. Chapter 12. I also bought a new highlighter because the one I was using ran out. So here's my new highlighter that I'm going to be using. Thank goodness I had the foresight to belt myself in. Oh, where we're up to is Katniss just discovered that Peter is running with the courier pack. Right. Thank goodness I had the foresight to belt myself in. I've rolled sideways off the fork and I'm facing the ground, held in place by the belt, one hand and my feet straddling the pack inside my sleeping bag, braced against the trunk. There must have been some rustling when I tipped sideways, but the couriers have been too caught up in their own argument to catch it. Go on then, lover boy, says the boy from District 2. See for yourself. I like that they call him this, lover boy. I just get a glimpse of Peter, lit by a torch, heading back to the girl by the fire. His face swollen with bruises and there's a bloody bandage on one arm. And from the sound of his gait, I don't even know how to say that. He's limping somewhat. I remember him shaking his head, telling me not to go into the fight for supplies when all along, he'd planned to throw himself into the thick of things. Katniss, more reason not to trust Peter. Peter. Welcome everyone that's just joining the stream. We're annotating chapter 12 today. We're up to page 195. That's pretty impressive. This is going well. Okay. Just the opposite of what Hamish had told him to do. Okay, I can stomach this. Seeing all those supplies was tempting, but this other thing, this teaming up with the Career Wolf Pack to hunt down the rest of us. No one from District 12 would think of doing such a thing. Career tributes are overly vicious, arrogant, better fed, but only because they're the capital's lapdogs. Capital's lapdogs there as well. Um, they're kind of like the capital is pitting the districts against each other. Obviously, they're doing that in the Hunger Games, but that kind of division makes sure the capital stays in power. So I'm just gonna write that down because they all have the same cause. They're all oppressed, so they can, we see in the rebellion that once they team up together, they end up essentially being more powerful than the capital, and as long as the capital keeps them separate, they won't lose their power. So I've just written here, pitting the districts against each other so the capital can remain in power. Universally, solidly hated by all those from their own districts. I can imagine the things they're saying about him back home now. And Peter had the gall to talk to me about disgrace. Obviously, the noble boy on the rooftop was playing just one more game with me. Katniss and her trust issues. But this will be his last. I will eagerly watch the night skies for signs of his death if I don't kill him myself first. Jeez, aggressive much, Katniss. The career tributes are silent until he gets out of earshot, then use hushed voices. Why don't we just kill him now and get it over with? Let him tag alone. Let him tag along. What's the harm? And he's handy with that knife. Is he? That's news. What a lot of interesting things I'm learning about my friend Peter today. That is so funny. I love this line. She's being so petty. Besides, he's our best chance of finding her. Referring to Katniss. I've just written down love this because I love that little comment that Katniss makes. Takes me a moment to register that the her they're referring to is me. Why? You think she bought into that sappy romance stuff? See, not even these guys believe the star-crossed lovers. She might have. Seemed pretty simple-minded to me. Every time I think about her spinning around in that dress, I want to puke. Wish we knew how she got that 11. Bet you lover boy knows. Well, he does. I just hit my arm on my desk on accident. The sound of Peter returning silences them. Was she dead? Asked the boy from District 2. Now. Now, yep. No, but she is now. I'm just jumbling around my words. Says Peter. Just then, the cannon fires. Ready to move on? The career pack sets off at a run just as dawn begins to break, and birdsong fills the air. I remain in my awkward position, muscles trembling with exertion for a while longer, then hoist myself back onto my branch. I need to get down to get going, but for a moment I lie there, digesting what I've heard. Not only is Peter with the careers, he's helping them find me, the simple-minded girl who has to be taken seriously because of her 11, because she can use a bow and arrow, which Peter knows better than anyone. Um, this is an example, all of this here, all of these pages are an example of Katniss's biased narration. I'm writing, this is Candace's biased narration. She doesn't know yet why Peter teamed up with the careers. I'm just going to write down, but she assumes his motivation. She assumes his motivation. Moving on. But he hasn't told them yet. Is he saving that information because he knows that it's all that keeps him alive? Is he still pretending to love me for the audience? What is going on in his head? She doesn't know. Zanova, she still assumes again. Suddenly the birds fall silent. Then one gives a high-pitched warning call, a single note, just like the one Gale and I heard when the red-headed Avox girl was caught. High above the dying campfire, a hovercraft materializes. A set of large metal teeth drops down. Slowly, gently, the dead trivia girl is lifted into the hovercraft, then it vanishes. The birds resume their song. So I'm going to highlight this part because, again, this is how the games work, and this is how the hovercraft works. The birds falling silent indicate danger. Um, I assume, or the danger of like a um capital capital hovercraft. Maybe kind of like a canary as well. That's one of the things that gets brought up a lot is because Katniss is from District 12, the canary in the coal mine. Um, that whole thing gets brought up quite a bit because canaries signal danger when you're in coal mines, and if it goes silent, there's something toxic, there's something dangerous. If it dies, obviously, it's an indicator there's like toxic chemicals or whatever. Um, the birds in general are a warning sign. Birds in brackets, I've put canaries are warning signs. Move, I whisper to myself. I wriggle out of my sleeping bag, roll it up, and place it in the pack. I take a deep breath. While I've been concealed by darkness and the sleeping bag and the willow branches, it has probably been difficult for the cameras to get a good shot of me. I know they must be tracking me now, though. The minute I hit the ground, I'm guaranteed a close up. So here, I'm just going to write down Katniss understanding the cameras. So Katniss understanding the cameras and the entertainment factor. The audience will have been beside themselves, knowing I was in a tree, that I overheard the careers talking, that I discovered Peter was with them. Until I work out exactly how I want to play that, I'd better at least act on top of things. Not perplexed, certainly not confused or frightened. No, I need to look one step ahead of the game. So as I slide out of the foliage and into the dawn light, I pause a second, giving the cameras time to lock on me. Then I cock my head slightly to the side and give a knowing smile. There, let them figure out what that means. I'm about to take off when I think of my snares. Maybe it's imprudent to check them with the others close, but I have to. Too many years of hunting, I guess. And the law of possible meat. Food, once again. I'm rewarded with one fine rabbit in no time. Oh, hang on. In no time, I've cleaned and gutted the animal, leaving the head, feet, tail, skin, and innards under a pile of leaves. I'm wishing for a fire. Eating raw rabbit can give you rabbit fever, a lesson I learned the hard way. When I think of the dead tribute, I hurry back to her camp. Sure enough, the coals of her dying fire are still hot. I cut up the rabbit, fashion a spit out of branches, and set it over the coals. Her cooking rabbit. All this whole thing, this whole novel is just about food. I'm glad for the cameras now. I want sponsors to see I can hunt. Then I'm a good bet because I won't be lured into traps as easily as the others will by hunger. While the rabbit cooks, I grind up. Hang on. I want to say this because also, again, about the food. While the rabbit cooks, I grind up a part of charred branch and set about camouflaging my orange pack. The black tones it down, but I feel a layer of mud would definitely help. Of course, to have mud, I'd need water. I know the orange stands out, but I'm just thinking that's supposed to be Peter's favorite color. So does that have something to do with him? But we don't find out that's his favorite color until it's not bright orange. Bright orange is not Peter's favorite color, but it is still orange nonetheless. We don't know his favorite color until catching fire. Is it his favorite color camouflaging? Because she is camouflaging her feelings for Peter. I don't know, because she's confused and she's covering up what feelings she has for Peter or the fact that Peter himself is covering up his true intentions. I'm just like thinking of some ideas. This is a comment. I love the Hunger Games. Me too. Love the Hunger Games. I've been reading it since I was 9 years old. Right. I'm just gonna write a comment about thinking about the orange. And Peter does. Okay, I've just written down here. Does the orange represent Peter? He's camouflaging his true intention. Okay. Of course, to have mud, I'd need water. I pull on my gear, grab my spit, kick some dirt over the coals, and take off in the opposite direction. The careers went. I eat half the rabbit as I go, then wrap up the leftovers in my plastic for later. As always, highlighting everything to do with food. My highlighting game is getting really lazy. I'm so sorry, guys. The meat stops the grumbling in my stomach, but it does little to quench my thirst. Water is my top priority now. Yeah, you kind of need water to survive more than food, to be honest. If we're being really honest. As I hike along, I feel certain I'm holding the screen in the capital, so I'm careful to continue to hide my emotions. But what a good time Claudius Temple Smith must be having with his guest commentators, dissecting Peter's behavior, my reaction. What to make of it all? Has Peter revealed his true colors? See, she even says true colors here. No, because the orange backpack is camouflage. I feel like maybe with that comment, Susan Collins did do that intentionally. So the whole orange orange backpack does potentially represent Peter. How does this affect the betting odds? Will we lose sponsors? Do we even have sponsors? Yes, I feel certain we do, or at least did. Certainly, Peter has thrown a wrench into our star-crossed lover dynamic, or has he? Maybe since he hasn't spoken much about me, we can still get some mileage out of it. Maybe people will think it's somehow we plotted it to, somehow, oh my god, it's something we plotted together if I seem like it amuses me now. The sun rises in the sky, and even though the canopy even through the canopy, it seems overly bright. I coat my lips in some grease from the rabbit and try to keep from panting, but it's no use. It's only been a day and I'm dehydrating fast. I try and think of everything I know about finding water. It runs downhill, so in fact, continuing down into this valley isn't a bad thing. If I could just locate a game trail or spot a particularly green patch of vegetation, these might help me along, but nothing seems to change. There's just the slight gradual slope, the birds, the sameness to the trees. As the day wears on, I know I'm headed for trouble. What little urine I've been able to pass is dark brown, my head is aching, and there's a dry patch on my tongue that refuses to moisten. The sun hurts my eyes, so I dig out my sunglasses, but when I put them on, they do something funny to my vision, so I just stuff them back into my pack. It's like in video games when you haven't unlocked that part yet. You haven't unlocked a character or that chapter of the like a story mode game or something, and Katniss here has not unlocked that part yet of the game because Rue knows what these like quote unquote sunglasses are, but she doesn't. It's late afternoon when I think I've found help. I spot a cluster of berry bushes and hurry to strip the fruit to suck the sweet juices from the skins. Food once again. But just as I'm holding them to my lips, I get a hard look at them. What I thought were blueberries have a slightly different shape, and when I break one, open the in, and when I break one, open the insides are blood red. This is Nightlock. I feel like this is Nightlock. That's a good description of Nightlock. I don't recognize those berries. Perhaps they're edible, but I'm guessing this is some evil trick on the part of the game makers. Even the plant instructor in the training center made a point of telling us to avoid berries unless you were 100% sure they weren't toxic. Something I already knew, but I'm so thirsty it takes her a reminder to give the strength to fling them away. Just writing down Nightlock here. I think she brings it up later as well, the description of how many pages in this chapter? Not a lot. No, almost done with this chapter. Oh, 1 second, I gotta charge my laptop so the stream doesn't die on us. Okay, continuing on. Fatigue is beginning to settle on me, but it's not the usual tiredness that follows a long hike. I have to stop and rest frequently, although I know the cure for what ails me requires continued searching. I try a new tactic, climbing a tree as high as I dare in my shaky state to look for any signs of water. But as far as I can see in any direction, there's the same unrelenting stretch of forest. Determined to go on until nightfall, I walk until I'm stumbling over my own feet. Exhausted, I haul myself up into a tree and belt myself in. I've no appetite, but I suck on a rabbit bone just to give my mouth something to do. Night falls, the anthem plays, and high in the sky I see the picture of the girl who was apparently from District 8, the one Peter went back to finish off. My fear of the career pack is minor compared to my burning thirst. Besides, they were heading away from me, and by now they too will have to rest. With the scarcity of water, ha- they may even have had to return to the lake for refills. Maybe that's the only course for me as well. Morning brings the stress. My head throbs with every beat of my heart. Simple movements send stabs of pain through my joints. I fall rather than jump from the tree. It takes several minutes for me to assemble my gear. Somewhere inside me, I know this is wrong. I should be acting with more caution, moving with more urgency, but my mind seems foggy and forming a plan is hard. I lean back against the trunk of my tree, one finger gingerly stroking the sandpaper surface of my tongue as I assess my options. How can I get water? There's like half a chapter on just getting water in this book. I'm trying to think of like what to write down because of that. Okay, I've just written here there is half a chapter just on finding water. Candace is desperate and has left all other survival tactics behind. All right. How can I get water? Return to the lake? No good. I'd never make it. Hope for rain? There's not a cloud in the sky. Keep looking. Yes, this is my only chance. But then another thought hits me, and the surge of anger that follows brings me to my senses. Hamish. He could send me water, press a button, and have it delivered to me in a silver parachute in minutes. I know I must have sponsors, at least one or two who could afford a half a liter of liquid for me. Yes, it's pricey, but these people, they're made of money, and they'll be betting on me as well. Perhaps Hamish doesn't realize how deep my need is. This is their relationship. She's just angry. Just gonna write a note about Hamish and Katniss's relationship. Okay. Hamish and Katniss are so alike they can communicate without words, which angers Canon. I say in a voice as loud as I dare, water. I wait, hopefully for a parachute to descend from the sky, but nothing is forthcoming. Something is wrong. Am I deluded about having sponsors, or has Peter's behavior made them all hang back? No, I don't believe it. There's someone out there who wants to buy me water, only Hamish is refusing. Is there a page in between this? I feel like, yeah, there we go. Refusing to let it go through. As my mentor, he gets to control the flow of gifts from the sponsors. I know he hates me. He's made that clear enough, but enough to let me die from this. I can't do that. Can he? He can't do that, can he? If a mentor mistreats his tributes, he'll be held accountable by the viewers, by the people back in 12. Even Hamish wouldn't risk that, would he? Say what you will about my fellow traders in the Hob, but I don't think they'd welcome him back there if he'd let me die this way. And then where would he get his liquor? So what? Is he trying to make me suffer for defying him? Is he directing all the sponsors towards Peter? Is he just too drunk to even notice what's going on at the moment? Somehow I don't believe that, and I don't believe he's trying to kill me off by neglect either. He has, in fact, in his own unpleasant way, genuinely been trying to prepare me for this. Then what is going on? I bury my face in my hands. There's no danger of tears now. I couldn't produce one to save my life. What is Hamish doing? Despite my anger, hatred, and suspicions, a small voice in the back of my head whispers an answer. Maybe he's sending you a message. Their relationship and being able to communicate. A message. Saying what? Then I know. There's only one good reason Hamish would be withholding water from me, because he knows I've almost found it. I grit my teeth and pull myself to my feet. My backpack seems to have tripled in weight. I find a broken branch that will do for a walking stick and I start off. The sun's beating down, even more searing than the first 2 days. I feel like an old piece of leather drying and cracking in the heat. Every step is an effort, but I refuse to stop. I refuse to sit down. If I sit, there's a good chance I won't be able to get up again, and that I won't even remember my task. It just occurred to me what this chapter is about. This whole chapter is to set up Canis and Hamish's dynamic. Collins is setting up the way they communicate. That's what it's for. See, eventually I understood that. Where am I up to? What easy prey I am. Any tribute, even tiny Roo, could take me right now. Merely shove me over and kill me with my own knife. I'd have little strength to resist. But if anyone is in my part of the woods, they ignore me. The truth is, I feel a million miles from another living soul. Not alone, though. No, they've surely got a camera tracking me now. I think back to the years of watching tribute starve, freeze, bleed, and dehydrate to death. Unless there's a really good fight going on somewhere, I'm being featured. My thoughts turn to Prim. It's likely she won't be watching me live, but they'll show updates at the school during lunch. For her sake, I try not to look too desperate. But by afternoon, I know the end is coming. My legs are shaking and my heart is too quick. I keep forgetting exactly what I'm doing. I've stumbled repeatedly and managed to regain my feet, but when the stick slides out from underneath me, I finally tumble to the ground, unable to get up. I let my eyes close. I've misjudged Hamish. He has no intention of helping me at all. This is alright, I think. This is not too bad here. The air is less hot, signifying evening's approach. There's a slight, sweet scent that reminds me of lilies. My fingers stroke the smooth ground, sliding easily across the top. This is okay. This is an okay place to die, I think. My fingertips make small swirling patterns in the cool, slippery earth. I love mud, I think. How many times I've tracked game with the help of its soft, readable surface. Good for bee stings, too. Mud. Mud. Mud! My eyes fly open and I dig my fingers into the earth. It is mud. My nose lifts in the air, and those are lilies. Pond lilies. I like that she doesn't even realize at first. She's so disorientated she just doesn't realize. I crawl now through the mud, dragging myself towards the scent. 5 meters from where I fell, I crawl through a tangle of plants into a pond. Floating on the top, yellow flowers in bloom, are my beautiful lilies. It's all I can do now not to plunge my face into the water and gulp down as much as I can hold. But I just have enough sense to left to abstain. With trembling hands, I get out my flask and fill it with water. I add what I remember to be the right number of drops of iodine for purifying it. How would she even know that? How does she have access to iodine? Did she maybe learn that in the training center? Maybe that would make sense. They're learning it in the training center. A half an hour of waiting is agony, but I do it. At least I think it's half an hour, but it's certainly as long as I can stand. Slowly, easy now, I would tell myself. I take one swallow and make myself wait, then another. Over the next couple of hours, I don't drink the entire 2 liter. I do drink the entire 2 liters, then two more. I prepare another two before I retire to a tree, where I continue sipping, eating rabbit, and even indulge in one of my precious crackers. By the time the anthem plays, I feel remarkably better. There are no faces tonight, no tributes died today. Tomorrow I'll stay here, resting, camouflaging my backpack with mud, catching some of those little fish I saw as I sipped, digging up the roots of the pond lilies to make a nice meal. I snuggle down in my sleeping bag, hanging on to my water bottle for dear life, which of course it is. Okay. Once again, this is food she's talking about. Food and water for survival. A few hours later, the stampede of feet shakes me from my slumber. I look around in bewilderment. It's not yet dawn, but my stinging eyes can see it. It would be hard to miss the wall of file. God. Yep, mispronouncing words. It would be hard to miss the wall of fire descending on me. Oh my god, cliffhanger. Oh my god, I need to like be better at my highlighting. Okay. And it's starting to leak through the page. Not good. I mean, it kind of was doing that already. It's just that it wasn't doing that as much with my other highlighter. I have to be more careful with this. Okay, chapter 13. Got through that in 40 minutes. That was pretty good. How many pages is this? 208. Oh, this is this is a long chapter. 223. Oh, not that long, actually. Someone do quick math for me. I can't do that. 15 pages. Okay, that's not that long. I wonder how long chapter 14 is. 224. Suzanne Collins writes like around about 20-page chapters, just under that, just over that, depending on what it kind of changes up a bit depending on what she's writing for that chapter. This one's like 11-ish pages long. Okay, let's just get through chapter 13 and see how we're going. Okay. My first impulse is to scramble from the tree, but I'm belted in. Somehow my fumbling fingers release the belt, release the buckle, and I fall to the ground in a heap, still snarled in my sleeping bag. There's no time for any kind of packing. Fortunately, my backpack and water bottle are already in the bag. I shove in the belt, hoist the bag over my shoulder, and flee. Can you imagine? Just imagine this scene for a second. When she says bag, she's talking about sleeping bag. So she's carrying this like long sleeping bag with a bag, a water bottle, and a belt in there, and she's just carrying it around, flying behind her. Like it took me, I might just be stupid, but it took me a while for it to really occur to me what the image of her running looks like. Because she doesn't look like that in the movies. That she literally just has her backpack and she doesn't have a sleeping bag. So that image I always like it's a lot more frantic in the books. The world has transformed into one of flame and smoke. Burning branches crack from trees and fall in showers of sparks at my feet. All I can do is follow the others, the rabbits and deer, and even spot a wild dog pack shooting through the woods. I trust their sense of direction because their instincts are sharper than mine. But they are much faster, flying through the underbrush so gracefully as my boots catch on roots and fallen tree limbs, but there's no way I can keep a pace with them. But they're fun. It's so funny that they've set the girl on fire in a forest fire. I think in the movie they do. They, I think Seneca Crane mentions it, that he finds it funny. I think at this point, this is where she gets caught by the career pack when she ends up in the lake. The heat is horrible, but worse than the heat is the smoke, which threatens to suffocate me at any moment. I pull the top of my shirt up over my nose, grateful to find it soaked in sweat, and it offers a thin veil of protection. And I run, choking my bag banging against my back, my face cut with branches that materialize from the grey haze without warning, because I know I'm supposed to run. This was no tribute to campfire gone out of control, no accidental occurrence. The flames that beat down on me have an unnatural height, a uniformity that marks them as human made, machine made, game maker made. Okay, I'm just going to highlight this section here. Trying to have a lighter hand with this highlighter, but I bet it still leaks through. Not that much. I think I just have to have a light hand when highlighting. That'll be fine. Okay, and I'm gonna just write a note about what I've highlighted here. I've written down Katniss notices when the environment around her is unnatural. It's something that she figures out a lot of times, I would assume, because she's a hunter. She understands the wild. And when I say the wild, she understands nature, how it works, because she's spent years understanding it. So she understands the uncanny, she understands the mutts very well, and when they're man-made. It happens with the wolf mutts, the monkey mutts. She understands that with a lot of other things, but we'll like highlight it when we get to it in the series. Things have been too quiet today. No deaths, perhaps no fights at all. The audience in the capital will be getting bored, claiming that these games are verging on dullness. This is the one thing the games must not do. It's not hard to follow the game maker's motivation. There is the career pack, and then there are the rest of us, probably spread far and thin across the arena. This fire is designed to flush us out, to drive us together. It may not be the most original device I've seen, but it's very, very effective. I hurtle over a burning log, not high enough. The tail end of my jacket catches on fire, and I have to stop to rip it from my body and stamp out the flames. Literally the girl on fire right here. What I've written here is literally the girl on fire. This is a direct parallel with her opening tribute parade out because she's on fire on her back. But I don't dare leave the jacket, scorched and smoldering as it is. So I take the risk of shoving it in my sleeping bag, hoping the lack of air will quell what I haven't extinguished. This is all I have, what I carry on my back, and it's little enough to survive with. In a matter of minutes, my throat and nose are burning. The coughing begins soon after, and my lungs begin to feel as if they are actually being cooked. Discomfort turns to distress until each breath sends a searing pain through my chest. I manage to take cover under a stone, outcropping just as the vomiting begins, and I lose my meager supper and whatever water has remained in my stomach. Crouching on my hands and knees, I retch until there's nothing left to come up. I know I need to keep moving, but I'm trembling and lightheaded now, gasping for air. I allow myself a spoonful of water to rinse my mouth and spit, then take a few swallows from a bottle. You get 1 minute, I tell myself. 1 minute to rest. I take the time to reorder my supplies, wad up the sleeping bag, and messily stuff everything into the backpack. My minute's up. See, now the image changes here from the sleeping bag that she is dragging behind her to a backpack, and she's a little bit more put together. I know it's time to move on, but the smoke has clouded my thoughts. The swift-footed animals that were my compass have left me behind. I know I haven't been in this part of the woods before. There were no sizable rocks like the one I'm sheltering against on my earlier travels. Where are the game makers driving me? Back to the lake? To a whole new terrain filled with new dangers? I had just found a few hours of peace at the pond when this attack began. Would there be any way I could travel parallel to the fire and work my way back there to a source of water at least? The wall of fire must have an end, and it won't burn indefinitely. Not because the game makers couldn't keep it fueled, but because again, that would invite accusations of boredom from the audience. This is another occasion of Candace understanding. She is understanding how the games work. Candace understanding how the games work. So she's able to survive because of this. This gives her an advantage, is just what I've written. Because if you don't understand how the games work and how the entertainment factor works, then you aren't going to be able to survive as long. I would say that's probably one of the reasons and one of the contributors as to why the younger kids, like under 14, like Finnick is the youngest to win at 14. Anyone 14 and below is unlikely to win the games because they don't have that maturity just yet to understand. And some kids around that age do have the maturity to understand, but not a lot of them. You don't have the maturity at that age to understand how the games would work. So you don't have the survival instincts to know that there's only so far that that the game makers can stretch their artificial whatever, like the mutts in this case, the forest fire. If I could get back behind the fire line, I could avoid meeting up with the careers. I just decided to try and loop back around, although it would require miles of travel away from the inferno, and then a very circuitous route back when the first fireball blasts into the rock about half a meter from my head. I spring out from under my ledge, energized by renewed fear. The game has taken a twist. The fire was just to get us moving. Now the audience will get to see some real fun. Understanding the minds of the game makers is a survival tactic. I've just written down at the bottom. When I hear the next hiss, I flatten on the ground, not taking time to look. The fireball hits a tree off to my left, engulfing it in flames. To remain still is death. I'm barely on my feet before the third ball hits the ground where I was lying, sending a pillar of fire up behind me. Time loses meaning now as I frantically try to dodge the attacks. Just writing a note about something I noticed just now. Seems like the game makers have no intention of killing Candace. Because if they wanted to target her and get her, then they would. Because just as we see here, I'm barely on my feet before the third ball hits the ground where I was lying. They could have just hit her anyway. Like, it's very easy. I think she mentions it on the next page, actually. I can't see where they're being launched from, but it's not a hovercraft. The angles are not extreme enough. Probably this whole segment of the woods has been armed with precision launchers that are concealed in trees or rocks. Once again, she's understanding how the games work. Okay. Somewhere in a cool and spotless room, a game maker sits in a set of controls, fingers on the triggers that could end my life in a second. All that is needed is a direct hit. Whatever vague plan I have conceived, Whatever vague plan I had conceived regarding returning to my pond is wiped from my mind as I zigzag and dive and leap to avoid the fireballs. Each one is only the size of an apple, but packs tremendous power on contact. Every sense I have goes into overdrive as the need to survive takes over. There's no time to judge if a move is the correct one. When there's a hiss, I act or die. Something keeps me moving though. A lifetime of watching the Hunger Games lets me know that certain areas of the arena are rigged for certain attacks, and then if I can just get away from this section, I might be able to move out of reach of the launchers. Cass here is using her judgment, her understanding to survive. The games to survive. Might also then fall straight into a pit of vipers, but I can't worry about that now. How long I scramble along dodging the fireballs, I can't say, but the attacks finally begin to abate, which is good because I'm retching again. This time it's an acidic substance that scalds my throat and makes its way into my nose as well. How pleasant. Thanks for the description, Suzette Collins. I'm forced to stop as my body convulses, trying desperately to rid itself of the poisons I've been sucking in during the attack. I wait for the next hiss, the next signal to bolt. It doesn't come. The force of the retching has squeezed tears out of my stinging eyes. My clothes are drenched in sweat, somehow. Through the smoke and vomit, I pick up the scent of singed hair. My hand fumbles to my braid and finds a fireball seared off at least 15 centimeters of it. That's quite a lot, actually. Strands of blackened hair crumble in my fingers. I stare at them, fascinated by the transformation when the hissing registers. My muscles react, only not fast enough this time. The fireball crashes into the ground at my side, but not before it skids across my right calf. Seeing my trouser leg on fire sends me over the edge. I twist and scuttle backwards on my hands and feet, shrieking, trying to remove myself from the horror. When I finally regain enough sense, I roll the leg back and forth on the ground, which stifles the worst of it. But then, without thinking, I rip away the remaining fabric with my bare hands. Katniss, maybe you needed that fabric. I don't know. Just gonna make a note that if the game makers wanted to kill Katniss, they would. They also want her to fight the career pack, you know. They want to keep her alive long enough to have that interaction between her and Peter in the career pack. Right. The game makers want Katniss alive long enough to confront and fight Peter and the career pack. I sit on the ground a few meters from the blaze set off by the fireball. My calf is screaming, my hands covered in red welts. I'm shaking too hard to move. If the game makers want to finish me off, now is the time. I hear Cinna's voice, carrying images of rich fabric and sparkling gems. Katniss, the girl who was on fire. What a good laugh the game makers must be having over that one. Perhaps Cinna's beautiful costumes have even brought on this particular torture for me. I know he couldn't have foreseen this, but hurting must be hurting for me because, in fact, I believe he cares about me. But all in all, maybe showing up stark naked in that chariot would have been safer for me. It's gross that some of the tributes, I've mentioned this so many times in my streams before while annotating this book. It's gross that teenagers will show up naked for their costumes. That's disturbing to say the least. The attack is now over. The game makers don't want me dead. Not yet, anyway. Everyone knows they could destroy us all within seconds of the opening gong. The real sport of the Hunger Games is watching the tributes kill one another. Every so often, they do kill a tribute just to remind the players they can, but mostly, they manipulate us into confronting one another face to face, which means if I'm no longer being fired at, there is at least one other tribute close at hand. Katniss. Once again, understanding how the games work. I'm just highlighting that because that also is a part of Candace understanding the games. I would drag myself into a tree and take cover now if I could, but the smoke is still thick enough to kill me. I make myself stand and begin to limp away from the wall of flames that light up the sky. It does not seem to be pursuing me any longer, except with its stinking black clouds. Another light, daylight, begins to softly emerge. Swirls of smoke catch the sunbeams. My visibility is poor. I can see maybe 15 meters in any direction. A tribute could easily be concealed from me here. I should draw my knife as a precaution, but I doubt my ability to hold it for long. The pain in my hands can no way compete with that in my calf. I hate burns, but I've always hated them, even a small one got from pulling a pan of bread from the oven. It is the worst kind of pain to me, but I have never experienced anything like this. Then yeah, I might just like make the note of. Kind of knowing what the game makers are doing. Right. I'm so weary, I don't even notice I'm in the pool until I'm ankle deep. It's spring fed, bubbling out of a crevice in some rocks, and blissfully cool. I plunge my hands in the shallow water and feel instant relief. Isn't that what my mother always says? The first treatment for a burn is cold water, that it draws out the heat. But she means minor burns. Probably she'd recommend it for my hands, but what of my calf? Although I have not yet had the courage to examine it, I'm guessing that it's an injury in a whole different class. I lie on my stomach at the edge of the pool for a while, dangling my hands in the water, examining the little flames on my fingernails that are beginning to chip off. Good. I've had enough fire for a lifetime. That's funny. I bathe the blood and ash from my face. I try to recall all I know about burns. There are common injuries in the scene where we cook and heat our homes with coal. Then there are the mine accidents. A family once brought an unconscious young man pleading with my mother to help him. The district doctor who's responsible for treating the miners had written him off, told the family to take him home to die. But they wouldn't accept this. He lay on the kitchen table, senseless to the world. I got a glimpse of the wound on his thigh, gaping, charred flesh, burned clear down to the bone, before I ran from the house. Katniss isn't exactly a healer. I went to the woods and hunted the entire day, haunted by the gruesome leg and memories of my father's death. What's funny was Prim, who scared of her own shadow, stayed and helped. My mother says healers are born, not made. They did their best, but the man died just like the doctor said he would. Even now, like with like technology, like they're poor and can't afford like certain medicines in District 12, but even in the real world, when you have access to modern medicine and all the technology, all of that, you can still, there's still a very high risk of you dying from like very severe burns. So even Candace's mother probably wouldn't have been able to do anything. Same here. Katniss healed Panam in a different way. Okay, moving on. My leg is in need of attention, but oh, I accidentally knocked my camera. My leg is in need of attention, but I can't look at it. What if it's as bad as the man's and I can see my bone? Then I remember my mother saying that if a burn's severe, the victim might not even feel pain because the nerves would be destroyed. Encouraged by this, I sit up and swing my leg in front of me. I almost faint at the sight of my calf. The flesh is a brilliant red covered with blisters. I force myself to take deep, slow breaths, feeling quite certain the cameras are on my face. I can't show weakness at this injury, not if I want help. Pity does not get you aid. My highlighting, it's phenomenal, guys. Yeah. Cut the remaining of the trouser leg off at the knee. Oh, pity does not get you aid, admiration at your refusal to give in does. I cut the remains of the trouser leg off at the knee and examined the injury more closely. The burned area is about the size of my hand. None of the skin is blackened. I think it's not too bad to soak. Gingerly, I stretch out my leg into the pool, propping the heel of my boot on a rock so the leather doesn't get too sodden, and sigh, because this does offer some relief. I know there are herbs, if I could find them, that would speed the healing, but I can't quite call them to mind. Water and time will probably be all I have to work with. Should I be moving on? The smoke is slowly clearing, but still too heavy to be healthy. If I do continue away from the fire, won't I be walking straight into the weapons of the careers? Besides, every time I lift my leg from the water, the pain rebounds so intensely I have to slide it back in. Just thinking of writing a note here from what I just highlighted about Canis. Canis refuses to appear weak. Fronts. Strangers. She honestly doesn't try to appear weak anyway. All right. Candace refuses to appear weak in front of strangers slash the capital. Where was I up to? Oh, my hands are slightly less demanding. They can handle small breaks from the pool, but I slowly put my gear back in order. First, I filled my bottle with pool water, treat it, and when enough time has passed, begin to rehydrate my body. After a time, I force myself to nibble on a cracker, which helps settle my stomach. Food, once again, being used. Okay. I roll up my sleeping bag except for a few black marks. It's relatively unscathed. My jacket's another matter, stinking and scorched, at least 30 centimeters of the back beyond repair. I cut off the damaged area, leaving me with a garment that comes just to the bottom of my ribs, but the hood's intact and it's far better than nothing. Despite the pain, drowsiness begins to take over. I'd take to a tree and try to rest, except I'd be too easy to spot. Besides, abandoning my pool seems impossible. I neatly arrange my supplies, even settle my pack on my shoulders, but I can't seem to leave. I spot some water plants with edible roots and make a small meal with my last piece of rabbit. Once again, food. Sip water. Watch the sun make its slow arc across the sky. Where could I go? Where would I go anyway? That is safer than here. I lean back on my pack, overcome with drowsiness. If the creators want me, let them find me, I think, before drifting into a stupor. Let them find me. And find me they do. It's lucky I'm ready to move on because when I hear the feet, I have less than a minute head start. Evening has begun. The moment I wake, I'm up and running. My splashing across the pool, flying into the underbrush. My leg slows me down, but I sense my pursuers are not as speedy as they were before the fire. Just the truck going past. But I sense my pursuers are not as speedy as they were before the fire either. I hear their coughs, their raspy voices calling to one another. Still, they're closing in, just like a pack of wild dogs, so I do what I have done my whole life in such circumstances. I pick a high tree and begin to climb. If running hurt, climbing is agonizing because it requires not only exertion but direct contact of my hands on the tree bark. I'm fast though, and by the time they've reached the base of my trunk, I'm 6 meters up. For a moment, we stop and survey one another. I hope they can't hear the pounding of my heart. This could be it, I think. What chance do I have against them? All six are there, the five Krias and Peter, and my only consolation is that they're pretty beat up too. Even so, looking up their weapons, I look at their faces, grinning and snarling at me, a sure kill above them. It seems pretty hopeless, but then something else registers. They're bigger and stronger than I am, no doubt, but they're also heavier. There's a reason it's me and not Gale who ventures up to pluck the highest fruit or rob the most remote bird nests. I must weigh at least 20 or 30 kilos less than the smallest career. Now I smile. How's everything with you? I call down cheerfully. I'm gonna. She's teasing them. I'm gonna write it on the next page over about how yeah, she's teasing the career tributes, but also giving the um capitals entertainment. I don't know if Katniss mentions it. She might in a minute, saying that she's that the cat something about the capital and entertainment. Katniss is teasing the career tributes, but also giving. I think I did that wrong. Giving, but also giving the capital some entertainment. This takes them aback, but I know the crowd will love it. Oh yeah, right. Well enough, says the boy from District 2. Yourself? It's been a bit warm for my taste, I say. I can almost hear the laughter from the capital. The air's better up here. Why don't you come on up? Think I will, says the same boy. I think this is Cato. Oh yeah, there we go. Here, take this, Cato, says the girl from District 1, and she offers him the silver bow and sheath of arrows. My bow, my arrows. Just the sight of them makes me so angry I want to scream at myself, at the traitor Peter for distracting me from having them. Just gonna highlight that. I like that she's calling Peter a traitor. That's so funny because we don't know that he's actually technically he's not like really a traitor. He's doing it in the best interest of Katniss. I try to make eye contact with him now, but he seems to be intentionally avoiding my gaze as he polishes his knife with the edge of his shirt. Make a note. Right? Candace is still taking a while to notice Peter's true intentions. Yep. It's just what I've written. I think I just have, yeah. All right. No, Cato says, pushing away the bow. I'll do better with my sword. I can see the weapon, a short, heavy blade at his belt. I give Cato time to hoist himself into the tree before I begin to climb again. Gale always says I remind him of a squirrel the way I scurry up even the slenderest limbs. Part of it's my weight, but part of it's practice. You have to know where to place your hands and feet. I'm another 9 meters in the air when I hear the crack and look down to see Cato flailing as he and a branch go down. He hits the ground hard, and I'm hoping he possibly broke his neck when he gets back up to his feet, swearing like a fiend. Cato is not one for adversity, as we come to discover. The girl with the arrows, Glimmer. I can hear someone call her. Ugh, the names people in District 1 give their children are so ridiculous. That's so funny. Katniss actually has so many teenage judgments, it's hilarious. I'm gonna say hilarious judgments. I actually love that she criticizes Glimmer's name. I find it really funny. Um, Hilarious judgments. Oh my god, how do you spell judgments? Why have I forgotten this? I was gonna spell it right. Reveal more about the capital pitting the districts against each other. Okay, Katniss and hilarious judgments reveal more about the capital pitting the districts against each other. Okay. Anyway, Glimmer scales the tree until the branches begin to crack under her feet and then has the good sense to stop. I'm at least 25 meters high now. She tries to shoot me, and it's immediately evident that she's incompetent with a bow. Katniss would know that when someone's incompetent with a bow. One of the arrows gets lodged in the tree near me, though, and I'm able to seize it. I wave it teasingly above her head, as if this was the sole purpose of retrieving it, when actually I mean to use it if I ever get the chance. I would kill them, every one of them, if those silver weapons were in my hands. Doesn't mean she would. She could kill them, doesn't mean she'd actually do it. Because we know that Katniss talks a lot about how she could kill people, but doesn't necessarily go for it because she sees everyone as human, and she begins learning more about that moral line that she holds with herself throughout the entire trilogy, because she thinks about people's loved ones and she has that kind of empathy for people even if she hates them. Their careers regroup on the ground, and I can hear them growling conspiratorially among themselves. Furious, I have made them look foolish. But twilight has arrived, and their window of attack on me is closing. Finally, I hear Peter say harshly, I'll let her stay up there. It's not like she's going anywhere. We'll deal with her in the morning. Well, he's right about one thing. I'm going nowhere. All the relief from the pool water has gone, leaving me to feel the full potency of my burns. I scoot down to a fork in the tree and clumsily prepare for bed. Put on my jacket, lay out my sleeping bed, belt myself in and try to keep from moaning. The heat of the bag's too much for my leg. I cut a slash in the fabric and hang my calf out in the open air. She cuts a slash in the sleeping bag? That's kind of crazy to do. I drizzle water on the wound, my hands. All my bravado is gone. I'm weak from pain and hunger, but can't bring myself to eat. Even if I can last the night, what will the morning bring? I stare into the foliage, trying to will myself to rest, but the burns forbid it. Birds are settling down for the night, singing lullabies to their young. Night creatures emerge. An owl hoots. The faint scent of a skunk cuts through the smoke. The eyes of some animal peer at me from the neighboring tree. Possum, maybe. Catching the firelight from the critters' torches. Suddenly, I'm up on one elbow. Those are no possum's eyes. I know their glassy reflection too well. In fact, those are not animal eyes at all. In the dim rays of light, I make her out, watching me silently from between the branch. Grew. How long has she been there? The whole time, probably, still and unobserved as the action unfolded beneath her. Perhaps she headed up her tree shortly before I did, hearing the pack was so close. For a while we hold each other's gaze, then, without even rustling a leaf, her little hand slides into the open and points to something above my head. I like this cliffhanger. Susan Collins is quite good with cliffhangers for chapter cliffhangers to draw the readers back in. I'm trying to think of something to write at the end of this chapter. Um, I don't know if I necessarily have to. Um, could you probably just say how long has she actually been there? I've just written a good cliffhanger. How long has Maru been there? Susan Collins. Susan Collins is good at chapter cliffhangers to draw readers in. And we're up to officially chapter 14. I'm gonna do chapter 14. I'm thinking Thursday, and then I'll probably do 15, maybe 16. How many pages is all of that? Let's have a look. 250. That's like 20, 26 pages. 20. That's 18. That's quite a bit. I might do chapters 14 and 15 on Thursday. Um, Possibly 16. We'll think about it. Depends on if I'm feeling up to it. I don't think I have a lot of time on Thursday to actually do chapter 16, but so chapter 14 and 15 will be good. So that's like 26 pages. That's easy. So hopefully you guys enjoy this stream. If you did, like and subscribe. You guys feel free to annotate along with me as well. And I'm live streaming every Tuesday and Thursday, so tune in for Thursday stream if you guys would like to, and make sure to bring your books along. But that is it for the stream, and I'll see you guys in the next video.